So I've had this idea for a little while now, and I've gotten a whole bunch of notes written down on my phone. But I was thinking about where Star Wars goes from now, and I'm pretty sure they said the next movie's coming out in 2023. Um, I'm pretty sure that's when they said it was. So it's gonna be a little longer. I haven't seen a lot of info on it. I've looked up. There was supposed to be the directors for whatever the for a TV series. I can't remember. At least like on the tip of my tongue. I know it, but I can't remember it. Shoot. But they canceled that. They had other prior agreements, so they canceled their Star Wars trilogy. And one thing that I really want to see happen is I think we need to have the same, at least like I don't know about director, but key like story writer. There needs to be somebody who has a flow between the first, second, and third of the movies, because like this last trilogy they saw, 8 kind of, if 7 was building, 8 kind of just went the other way, and then 9's over here, and it's just like there's nothing to connect to. It's kind of like 9 had to like retcon 8 basically, and it was just a weird arc of storytelling. But what I had a few ideas about this next series of prequels, and what I kind of wanted to see is I know a lot of people want to see the Old Republic and see how it was, but that is a good idea, but the idea I had is maybe something earlier. What I'm interested in is maybe something we see because technically I guess the Old Republic isn't canon, because the Old Republic games just got retconned, and so did all those comics. But thank you, Disney. But what I kind of want to see is like a time before a Republic, something not as stable. So we see the early formations of the Jedi and these traditions that we come to see later into the prequels, and then kind of lost in the original trilogy, reminded by Alex Guinness, and then completely, in my opinion, completely lost in the sequel trilogy. I kind of want to see who they were, and I've got a few notes here. I want to see them as true, like, peacekeepers. They help with negotiations. They don't fight in wars, and that's something very strict. And if negotiations break down, they kind of have to leave. It's not their job to fight the wars for somebody. And for a Jedi, in my mind, for Jedi, I want the Jedi to show them that they don't have a righteous path. Okay, they're not fighting for what's good or evil. It's not something that a Jedi cares about. A Jedi follows the will of the Force, and the Force wants balance. Now, what does balance mean? That's kind of the whole point, in my opinion. Maybe there's a corrupt king, but if the Force wills it, the Jedi support the corrupt king. I kind of want to see maybe we follow along with this Master and Padawan, and you see the Padawan struggle with the fact that he knows that morally, perhaps he shouldn't be helping this king, but the Force is calling for it, and he doesn't know why. But maybe there's a legitimate reason. Maybe it's hinted at. Maybe it's shown later. But there's a reason that king has to stay in power in terms of how the Force sees it. But maybe not. Maybe we see the blindness that a Jedi can, and then it kind of hints at how the Jedi will themselves lose touch with the Force through their own morals. I would like to see, because I really liked Qui-Gon Jinn, and I really liked he was so dedicated to following the will of the Force, and he was separated from the Council because he believed purely in the will of the Force, which to me, hints at the Jedi. They talk about they're losing touch with the Force. I think they're losing. I think they've lost touch with the Force because they got into politics. They got into right and wrong. They weren't just listening and to the Force and going where it calls for them, like Qui-Gon Jinn tried to teach Obi-Wan in Episode 1 and kind of hinted at to us. I really want them to talk about how Jedi shouldn't feel emotion. It's another one of my notes, because when you're a peacekeeper, there is no right, or when you're following the will of the Force, the Force doesn't have feelings. It's not right or wrong. The Force just is. It just does. It just wants to be level and equal and balanced. And sometimes balance means you're not always doing what's good, because who's to say that good is balance? that kind of reiterates the king point I guess I was talking about, but that's what I want. Talk about here how morals can interfere with the Jedi's duty of keeping the peace. I kind of talked about that just now. I wanted to see, this is a big thing. I wanted to see the Jedi are just a collective. There's not the Council. I think the Council was a big failure of the Jedi. Because if we all follow the will of the Force, we are all called to do our own things. No Jedi should be above another Jedi. We should look to each other in experience, but you see the Jedi Council assigning Jedi missions. I want to see in a prequel trilogy the Jedi just leave, just constantly. Like, maybe there is a temple, where they all go, but they come and go as the Force calls them. Maybe they look up to somebody because of their experience, but there's no title, and that person definitely isn't in charge of them. They all just listen to the Force. I think it would be a good idea to highlight how the Council was a failure of the Jedi. I think putting, making the term master, I think it could be fine. But I feel like the Jedi Council, that's just another step. It's just, we are in charge of you, You see Obi-Wan, and you see in episode 1 and 2 how the Council rules on things. I definitely think that it should be a Jedi following the will of the Force, finding, letting it guide them to where they need to be. That also leads into my other point on how Jedi find their Padawans, or their younglings, I guess. So for me, I would want to show in this trilogy, since there's no council, I don't think there needs to be I don't want there to be a large pool of Padawans being taught by a few Jedi masters or some Jedi teachers. I kind of want them to have a more, which is strange to say because I just talked about how I don't want them to show emotion, but I want it to be more personal between a master and their Padawan, because I kind of want them to show that a Jedi can have attachments in the sense of they're there, but a Jedi can also, with the will of the Force, let them go, and that gives them the strength that they need to. That's their dedication to the Force, being able to let go of something that you have come to hold dear, and that's kind of the strength of being a Jedi is so much more mentally than it is physically, and I think that is something I kind of want to see be shown and kind of come into existence, I guess, because I don't really feel like it's been shown too much. So I really want masters to pick up their younglings as younglings and kind of raise them and teach them along the way, instead of just masters coming in when they're of age and ready to be Padawans and just teaching them from then on. I kind of want to see them more like father figures in the way that masters are kind of replicating. Looking at my notes again. I just defined on my notes what I want each of the terms to be. So I guess I'll run through it here real quick. I wanted a master to be the Jedi do have terms. A master is a teacher. As soon as the learner moves on, you continue to follow the Force. The Force will always guide you. And if you are by yourself, so even if you're a master, as soon as your Padawan is called to be a knight, you return back to being a knight. A master is a term for somebody who's a teacher, basically. And then I wanted a knight to be a fully fledged Jedi, basically. Somebody who's graduated from learning but doesn't have a teacher, a knight who's just going around and following the will of the Force, not preoccupied with teaching. He is, he's the first line of defense that the Force would call if it needs something. And it's really what it, in my mind, like the Force would call it to solve problems. Master would go to other situations and teach a Padawan and grow the Padawan up. But a knight would be like, if there's a Jedi falling away from the Sith, or if there's some fight that needs to be had for the Force, or if there's some tough situation, the Force will call upon its knight or knights. I really want to see knights. Be honest, I want to see multiple Jedi, maybe from different areas, all called to one epicenter of a situation where they work together and figure out a solution to the problem. But they're all independently called. They all don't go together from one location to the other. Oop. A Padawan, it's the same. It's a learner who's taught by their master and follows the will of the Force. And then youngling, I do want the term youngling to come in, and I want it to be somebody who's a small child, who's truly like, who's not embarked on the learning aspect or the travel aspect of being a Padawan. Because I truly believe that being a Padawan means you have to go out and experience things. I want youngling to be more of like a teaching thing, where you're reading text, or you're learning to hold your lightsaber, or to graduate to be youngling, you have to get your lightsaber, which I do still want to be that cool ice planet that we see in Clone Wars and Jedi Fallen Order. I also want to see this is just off the top of my head, I kind of want to see a creativeness to lightsabers. I think it would be cool to hint at the fact that that the Jedi get caught up in tradition, get caught up in titles, also kind of unconsciously pass on to the pass on to their Padawans that a lightsaber has to look a certain way, and and operate in a certain way. I think it would be very interesting if we saw a lot of unique shapes, creations, or formations of a lightsaber in a prequel, to kind of like, I really want the prequels to hint at the Jedi. The Jedi weren't the pure Jedi, weren't at their peak power in the prequels. If anything, they were at their weakest, because they had, they had become corrupted at their roots. And maybe it's not the Jedi Council's fault. Maybe it's not Yoda or Mace Windu or anyone like that. Maybe they are the fruit of bad seeds. Maybe something to hint at the true decline of the Jedi, and maybe at the end of the maybe throughout the trilogy, you kind of hint at some things forming, and maybe the formation of a council, or the formation of moving to Coruscant. Maybe they're gonna move to where this Republic is gathering, so they can be there and they can help from there. We see that maybe the Force doesn't will some things, and we see some Jedi doing it anyway based on morals, and we see some other stuff. But of course, I'm not going to be in charge. I'm still going to watch all of the Star Wars stuff. Always going to be a huge fan. Star Wars: The Clone Wars, The Mandalorian, the prequels, the original trilogy. I like Episode 7. I think I can't fairly grade 9 in my mind, because it was sabotaged in 8. I don't want to. I'm about to start rambling about it, but I won't. But yeah, that's my idea for the prequel trilogy, or the prequel trilogy, I guess. I'm sure they've already got it in the works, so I'm sure it's not like Disney's gonna call me up or anything and go, "Hey, kind of want to add you on a writer." But still, I love making up stories for Star Wars, so I thought I'd get something else out there. But yeah, that's my idea for the prequel trilogy. Tell me what you thought about it. Tell me if you've got any prequel ideas, or anything like that. Anyway, I've been Blurry. I guess I've still got no closer.